Today we're gonna have a little fun. So as you might see on the wall behind me, I have some speakers that I actually installed recently into this wall. This room, which is my former kids' playroom, is now turning into our official family room or home theater. And this is a 106-inch woven acoustic display or screen, right? Projection screen from Silver Ticket Products. And we're gonna do a full install video on this bad boy. Now, I've already done part of the step, and that is placing speakers behind the display or behind the screen, because this is a woven screen. This is an acoustic screen. It's actually designed for the audio to come through it, and that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted my speakers completely hidden. So I didn't put the grills on them because I'm not going to put the grills on them. Essentially, the screen is going to be my grills. I'm hoping that I had my measurements right when I placed them, but they are where they are now. So let's get into this guy. So before we start, I am going to say this, so you'll notice stains on the carpet and everything. I did vacuum this whole area because we don't want to get as much stuff on the screen as we can. This carpet is really old, really nasty. It was a playroom, like I said, for years, so it's got lots of stains on it now because it was in an area that we just didn't care, and we knew that eventually we wanted to replace the carpet anyway, but that's not today. So I'm sure I'll get plenty of comments on that alone. Okay, so first step of this video is obviously going to be unpacking it and seeing how all the parts that come. So a couple of aluminum brackets. I'm just going to set everything off to the side. These are the frame poles for stretching for the material itself. Some black bar of some kind. Set that over there with that. Another one of the same bars. So these are the upper and lower aluminum frame tubes. Set that behind me. I do have an mounting instructions is what it says. Let's see, hardware kit inside. So there's the hardware kit. We do have black cloth. This should be the cloth that goes behind the screen to keep the light from going through. Set that over there. Right and left aluminum frame tubes. That's this box. And then we have the screen material inside this box. So this is the actual screen material. And then that's it. So let's get this guy out of the way for now. You know what? I'm gonna keep it open. I'll put all my garbage or whatever. So I'm gonna leave the screen material off to the side. Let's get these tubes, these frame tubes out. Take a peek at them. It's got like a velvet on the outside of the aluminum. So that is the right and left. So now we got the upper and lower here. Now the upper and lower obviously are a lot wider. It actually is 2 segments wide. We have to put those together. I think that's what those aluminum pieces that I first pulled out were. Okie dokie. So we got all those, so it's probably going to be about lining things out here. Let me get this stuff out of the way. Let's lay these out. So the last box I have to open is this hardware kit, which should have the, let's see, those are some tensioning or pulling rods, I think. Yeah, that'd be the mounting pieces. These are the springs that actually are to put the screen on. Again, mounting hardware, corner plates, and fastening screws. Okay. All right. So that's that box. Let me get that. So we have the first things we got to do is we got to put the 2 long poles together with these brackets. These are the first thing I pulled out of the box. So we just got to get these put on there, and then we can work on the corners themselves. So I guess let's start that. Okay, so this is the long bar. It has the section that we're going to be attaching together. We have these guys here. They actually slide into here, looks like. So from the end, you can see there's a channel all the way on what appears to be on the felt side. Right here, sorry about that. And you slide it in there. Let's take a peek. It's not gonna fit, it's gonna fit nice and snug. I guess that's a good thing. We're gonna get both those two screws lining up. And then I'm just gonna loosely put in these. Now there's a bag right here of 8 screws. These are the 8 screws that are for the top and bottom location. So I am gonna use a screw gun rather than a hand driver. And I'm just gonna put these in loosely to start, I think. You know what? It's not gonna matter. All right. Then we're just gonna slide these together. Probably just as tight, I would assume. And now we just want to make sure that they are tight, and it definitely appears that they are tight. Alright, I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side, and then I guess we'll work to the corners. Essentially, I think we're going to have to do this all upside down. So I'm going to actually take this bar to the... Actually, I can just flip it around, but we're going to have to do it upside down. Okay, so I'm going to have to rotate this around. Here we go. Like I said, we're going to build it backwards or upside down, right? So now we have another bag that has these panhead screws, and the bag that has these corner brackets. Take one of the corner brackets, it should all be the same. And essentially kind of take a peek at it, how it goes. Really isn't going to matter. Looks like it goes in the outside edge like this. And there is... Okay, so you can see, I'm going to pull that back out. Oh, there actually is a channel right there for this to slide into. So make sure you do slide it into that. And then just line up the holes. Again, probably on the corners, I'm going to just put them in loosely to start. Kind of center the hole. Then we have to make sure we line up everything before the corner on this side actually has to line up. And if you have, and maybe I should go grab a square, because you could actually make sure that the corner is as square as you're going to get it. I wonder if I have what kind of square I have out there. I'm going to go grab a square. That way we can make sure that this is actually square. So I'm not going to say that this is a necessary thing. It's just a thing that I would do personally. And once I get it on the square, nice and square, let's see, I just need to pull that corner together. So this is tedious stuff right here, especially if you have 2 people, it'd be a lot easier. All right, and basically I'm gonna do this at all other corners real quick. So I didn't think of that. The last one I gotta get the corners in, so I'm probably gonna have to loosen up all the corners so I can maneuver that last side into place. Unfortunately. Looks like I actually have an extra screw for this one, so that's good. It's always handy. Now I'm gonna go back around all 4 corners with the square them up, tighten them down. So after doing all of that, I don't think I really needed this. As long as you got the outside corner lined up and you squeeze it nice together so the gap from inside to out is about the same, every single one lined up perfectly. So definitely handy, but if you don't have one, don't feel too bad. All right, next step. Okay, so if we're going by our instruction book here, we did the assembly, got it all the way to step 4, we're good. Step 5 has us put the fabric down, followed by the support bars. Now, I'm not going to do the support bars yet. Those support bars can actually pinch the material in place, so we're going to actually do that at a later step. So we're going to actually skip over step 5. Step 5 and 6 really, because that shows you how the support bars actually click in, because we want the screen material to kind of float over. So starting in step 7, we're actually going to start putting the screen material down along with the springs. And how the spring alignment is going to go is we're actually going to start in do all 4 corners. One corner, opposite corner, and then do the other 2 corners. Then we'll start doing the rest. So I guess time to get the screen material out. The last box. Nice on a nice roll. Get this box out of the way. I'm going to roll it out, I guess, toward me so I can step in front of it. So the poles. Now we get to mess around with these. Of course, they have tape around them. Why wouldn't they? Now there are poles that have rubber ends on both sides, and then there's poles in here that have rubber ends on only one side. There we go. So these 2 long poles actually have rubber ends on both sides. They're for the sides of the screen. These poles here only have rubber ends on one side. And so what we do is we actually put it so the rubber ends go end to end and they butt together with the no rubber ends. That's for our long sides. So we'll actually insert them without the rubber side in from the outside on both sides. So let's do that. All right, I'm gonna do, well, I'm kind of in a bad spot for this side, so I'm gonna do this side first. If I have to move the material, I have to move the material. And at each one of these holes for the springs, it might catch, so you just kind of, every time you get to one of those holes, just work your way through it. Okay, we are from end to end on that. Then on the bottom, this is the bottom here, I'm going to take one with rubber end, pull that out, no rubber end. I'm going to insert the side that does not have a rubber end, which is probably going to make it a little bit more difficult to get it to go down, but it is what it is. To be honest, the other way around this would be figure out where it ends and stick it in from that hole. So this is the center of the screen right here, and I put rubber end first, so I'm putting the rubber end towards the outside edge. And maybe it isn't, maybe it's just because these were rolled up, they're just so tight. Maybe not. I'm all about trying new ideas, so obviously that didn't pan out. So it's just that I think it's because the screen material was rolled up for so long, everything on the up and down side is going to be really tight, where the ends, like this end specifically, wasn't rolled up. So obviously the other side might be opposite too. There we go. Just that, make sure you don't miss. So every time you get to one of these holes, make sure it lines up. So I think I have to change my camera angle. So I'm just going to go around and get all these lined up. So basically I push it until I get to a hole. I get to the hole here, I stop, get a little bit out, make sure it continues down the fabric. And I think this is going to be the step that takes the longest, which is kind of crazy. So I'm going to be here a bit. I'll get this done and I'll be back. Okay, the one thing I didn't mention yet is top and bottom, where the 2 poles are coming together. They won't butt to the ends. They'll actually overlap. So right here, I can feel I actually have both poles right here. So they actually are stacked on top of each other. So when you're pushing from one side, just make sure you're not pushing the other one out. Make sure they stack, and everything looks good and clean now. So the black backing. Also acoustically transparent, so it's not going to affect the audio. Essentially what this black backing is for is to keep light that comes through the display or through the screen from reflecting off the surface behind the screen or objects behind the screen, bouncing off and going back the other direction, back to the viewing audience. We don't want that. And specifically if you have a nice bright projector, you really don't want that. So I've got shiny speakers. My wall actually has kind of a glossy paint. So yes, I'm sure I will get some reflection. So I am going to actually opt to use the black backing. It's not required. So based on what you have behind the projection screen is whether or not you're going to actually want or need to use this. They provide it no matter what, and it is acoustically transparent. So I'm going to actually lay it out. And essentially I'm just going to lay it out so it covers the whole screen, and we're going to include it in our installation with our springs. And we'll have to stretch it out as we go as well. So that is that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about springs. In your bag or in your kit, you have 2 bags of springs. A small bag of small springs and a larger bag of larger springs, right? These are actually bigger springs. If you actually put them side by side, these are smaller, these are bigger. We're going to be using the bigger springs. These smaller springs are actually made that if you need more tension in certain areas, you can use these springs. So you're going to set these off to the side for now. You're only going to use them if you need to use them. So we're going to start with these. Now how we're going to actually start with these is, well, first I guess we have to talk about the spring itself, because the spring itself is also designed where it has a big hook and a small hook. So I don't know how well, let me grab this white backing here. Let's see. So you can see we have a big hook on this side and a smaller hook on this side. The big hook's actually going to go around that rod that we inserted in the actual screen itself, and the small hook side is actually going to be hooking onto the frame, the aluminum frame that we assembled. So that's what that's how you're going to do it. I'm sure the small spring can't do it, so it's going to go around the pole, so it's going to be pretty easy to know which way is which. They also give you this puller. They actually give you 2 of them. You can see this guy here. It actually allows you to grab onto the spring, because it's going to be probably hard to grab on with your fingers. So this is probably going to be easier, but we're going to find out. I'm going to try it myself. I have everything laid out. I guess we'll start in this corner right here. It's hard to tell how much of this black material. So I will say this before we start. This black fabric, which I'm attaching to the actual screen itself, you don't have to. You can still use this and do otherwise. You could actually get the screen all tensioned up and then just take this black fabric and maybe tape it or do something or attach it some other way. You could actually take this black fabric and attach it to the wall. You could paint the wall black. There's a lot of things you could do. I'm just going to try to do it the method that I've seen done, where essentially you take the spring, you find where your spring is going to go, you go through the black fabric and actually grab onto the pole. Let me grab the right side here. Let's go right here. There we go. I grab the pole, hook it on the frame. Now these first 2 are not going to have a whole lot of tension on them because there's nothing pulling it yet. And this black fabric, it's hard to tell how much extra black fabric I'm going to have. So I'm just going to kind of go with it because it seems like there's plenty of fabric here. And let's try this tool. It's not going to be too bad. I might need this tool actually. But you can see how I'm actually going through the fabric and I'm grabbing at the pole at these locations those little hole locations. You're grabbing onto the pole, not the white or the screen fabric. You're not touching that fabric at all. You're grabbing the pole that we inserted. And if you're using the black fabric, you're going through the black fabric and grabbing that pole and then tensioning it out. Now we got 2, one on each corner, one on each side of the corner here. We're going to go to the opposite corner, pull that corner, then go to the other corners and pull those corners. So 2 at each corner to start. I should probably mention this as well to start. Having the black fabric super tight is not relevant because we're not projecting on that. It's actually, you'll never see it. It's hidden. We're just stopping that reflection. So don't worry if your black fabric's a lot looser than the front fabric. So I will say this tool is going to be great. It's going to make it a lot easier. It's going to be easier in your hands. They do give you 2, so that if you have another person working, it's actually going to be a lot smoother and easier. So 2 people doing this is going to be a lot easier. Now, we're going to put the springs on the sides. So this side, I'm going to do this whole side, and then I'm going to go to the other side and do that whole side. I'm going to do the top and bottom last. So, here we go. Now I'm also going to do this a little bit. I'm not going to just start on one side and work my way across. I'm going to kind of do this like a trampoline. I'm going to start in the middle here. Then I'm going to split those two, and then I can do the rest. But that just gives it a little bit more tension, more even tension. Okay, on to the other side. Let's speed through the rest of this. Again, just like I did the side, I'm going to start in the center, kind of work my way out, slowly tensioning as I go, just to give it as proper tension as I can. Okay, so what did I learn? What would I do different? I would honestly treat this more like a trampoline than anything else, more than I did. So I would probably do the corners, do like maybe 2 on this side, 2 on that side, rest on this side, rest on that side. Then top and bottom, do the 2 middle, then the opposite 2 middle, maybe 2 over here, 2 over there, 2 over there, 2 over there, just to stretch it out better. It wasn't terrible, and I don't think it really matters that much, but if I really was so inclined, that's what I would do. 4 extra long springs, so I do have extras, so if I do pop one or something happens, I do have some extras. And of course, I don't think I need any of the short springs. I don't see that at all as a necessity. So now, it's about wall mounting, because we're essentially done building the display, right? The screen. It's done, it's ready. And to be honest, the black fabric I thought was going to be more of a pain in the butt. Not really at all. Not too bad at all. So we're set. Screen should look good. I haven't seen the other side yet, but now it's about wall mounting it. All right, so I want to try to make this as understandable as possible. So this is, let's just say this is the top edge, right? These are the brackets that are going to go on the wall at the top. Essentially, they're going to mount on the wall kind of like that, and they're going to stick out. You can see that sticking out in that little lip. That little lip literally just grabs onto this top channel. There's a channel in this that it sets into. So if you're looking at what height to put this at, depending on what your wall is, this is where you're going to want to take that measurement from. So for instance, I got my tape measure right here. From the top of the screen to the bottom of the bracket, it's about 2 7/8 inch, give or take, from the bottom of this bracket to the very top of this screen. Now you'll also need to put the screen on, I would argue, a good 3 inches from the bottom of this bracket. If you have maybe something that's a ledge, in my case I do, I have a beam up there. So I'm going to go a little more than 3 inches down to the bottom of the bracket. I should be able to go like 3 1/8 and it'll be fine, because that should be just fine. So 3 1/8 down, and then essentially that would get me as close to that beam as possible. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work on getting these brackets on. I don't think there's any necessity in wear in here. Obviously you're not going to want to be in the corner. You're going to want to be in from the corner. I don't think they have a specific measurement, but let me take a peek. So looking at the instructions, they want you about 20 inches in, give or take, from the outside edge in. Now what they tell you to do is actually take your tape measure, measure the full length. In this case, 98.5, call it. And I want to be -40, and that's with the bracket spacing apart. So that puts us in about 20 inches from the edge. More than anything, we're going to want to be on a stud. We're not going to be one, if we can. So we're not going to be, let's see here. So if I was to go by the -40 inches rather than 98.5, the spacing between is 58.5, right? So 58.5, that's not a stud spacing. 64 inches would be stud to stud on a 16 by on center wall. That's what this wall is. So I know where my studs are already. So that's what I'm actually going to go by. I'm going to go 64, so I'm going to go a little wider than that -40. This is where I want the center of the screen. And I already know that's a stud space. So essentially, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to put my bracket here. That should be a stud there. And I even have a hole there. That's the other stud. So that's a bracket location and bracket location. That's where my brackets are going to be. And like I already said, the bottom of my bracket, I want it to be about 3 1/8 down. Now at the same time, what you might want to do, if you have access to a laser level, throw a laser level on that, make sure that you're level, right? Not going to be as drastically important if it's not exactly perfect, because of the fact that, well, in the end, those brackets actually have adjustment holes. I can actually bring them up and down a little bit, and you're not going to notice that. You will notice though if the gap between, like in my case, I have this beam here. If I see a quarter gap on one side and an eighth gap on the other, that's going to be a lot more noticeable than if I was off level by 1/8 of an inch. So based on your wall, obviously just make the right assumption. If you have a long level too, I do have a 6-foot level. I could do that real quick just to verify I'm about level. But I'm going to go by looks, actually, in this case. So I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing. I'm actually going to drop it 3 1/4. That just gives me more space to mess around with it. So here's the bracket going on the wall. If I come down 3 1/4, puts me to the bottom of the bracket right about there. Now, of course, if you have a level handy, or if you have something that goes by level, you're going to want to make sure that this is plumb or this is level here. I'm just making marks in all 4 holes so I know where to actually put my screw holes. In my case, I'm going to go vertical. I'm going to put one here. This one I'm probably not even going to use because there's no point in it. But I'm going to do the same for the other one. So the screws that come with it also come with drywall anchors too if you don't have studs or the stud placement just doesn't work for you. I'm going to go right into the studs. So I'm going to use the same screws. They're good long screws, so this should be good. I'm going to use a 1/8 inch drill bit because I'm not using the drywall anchors. And I'm going to drill my holes. Good news is I hit the wood right on the money all 4 times. So I'm set for that. So now I'm going to put the brackets up. So now we have to do the lower brackets. And the height of the screen is what we're going to work with now. So we're going to actually take a height measurement of the screen, exact outside to outside dimensions, and the distance between the upper bracket and the lower bracket is A minus 1/8 of an inch or 3 millimeters, depending on your tape measure. So we're just going to subtract that, and that's the bottom of that bracket, I assume. And then, of course, we'll have a little bit of leeway there, but I'll take the measurement and then we'll measure off the top of that hook. So just to make sure you understand what I'm doing, I'm actually hooking the outside edge and I'm measuring to the outside edge here. I'm getting 58 1/4 outside to outside dimension. So now I'm going to actually hook my tape measure on that, pull it down 58 1/4, and then minus 1/8. So that's 58 1/8. Texture walls always make it hard because it's hard to put a nice straight line on them. So I'm going to do that on both of these. Okay, you can see my mark right here. That's my 58 1/8. So 1/8 inch minus that 58 1/4. Now I should know the vertical where my stud is. These magnetic stud buddies are awesome. So that is my stud right there. So that's where I'm going with this guy. Now the bracket we're installing here are these big clunky guys. These actually clamp it into place so it can't even accidentally fall off the wall. Boy, they just don't want to come out of the packaging. There we go. So essentially, I think what it is so if we, I don't know how well you can see this. So there's the bottom actual lip that actually clamps. Then there's this tooth right here. I think that's where the 58 1/8 is that this tooth, not the clamp, because the clamp's going to go up and down. It's actually going to clamp it into position. So that is what we want to go by for that 58 1/8. Just like so. See my stud line? I think that's my item. So that should, our frame should sit in here, and then we can actually tighten this clamp essentially and clamp it down. Okay, I'm gonna do the other side. Yeah, I had one here. There's a stud here, but there's also a pole here. So just gotta make sure that I'm 16 on center. And of course, without a screw, I'm gonna hook on the outside edge of this one, like left side, put a mark at 64, which should be the left side of this bracket. We are installed and ready to go, I think. Let's get all this stuff out of the way. One of the last steps here is these crossbars. Of course, I gotta get them out of the plastic first. Okay, so these crossbars have these pieces, and in the instruction book, they actually show you how they actually go in. So you have these two crossbars that go in the middle of the screen just to keep everything where it is so it doesn't bow in. And you can see how they have a little toe that goes into the frame itself. So that's what we got to do, is put it into the frame. So I'm gonna put this guy right here on, basically at this spring. Yep, and then it kind of slides in, and then I'm gonna, I don't know, come out at an angle. It's definitely tensioned pretty good. Maybe I'll show you what I'm doing better. All right, hopefully that helps a little bit. So essentially I got that side in, and I'm gonna slide this in, because you're not gonna be able to just kind of pop it in, because we already have everything kind of in place. But the reason that we did it this way is just because it squeezes, it kind of puts everything in the way, and it can be in the way. Maybe you don't like doing it this way and you want to go the other way, but boy, they are tight. I'll give it that. And then another crossbar right here. I'm gonna go to the side of the spring this time. All right, just take some muscle. Take some muscle. I'm gonna put this in to the side of the spring because I want to be able to get to the spring. So I think we're about right there. Now it's time to hoist her into spot. All right, this is the thing that we need probably two people for. So what we're gonna do, Carmen, this top edge here, we're gonna lift it up, kind of stand it up. They go on that top hook. All right, so slowly stand it up. Let's bring it your way a little bit. I think that is where we're gonna be. Let me look how we're angled here with the speakers. Yep, right on the money. So your mark is gonna be right about there. That's what you're gonna, okay? It's gonna go essentially right against that as it goes in. Ready? And then slide it in. Yep, that's it right there.
Is mine on?
I'll check. It goes up and then comes out. Yeah. Yep. Yours is right on the money. Now I just gotta check to see if I have these angled right. Looks like I gotta go up just a little bit with these. So these brackets here are just a little too low, just a little bit. So I'm actually gonna take them up, and gosh, it's like a 32nd of an inch. Just loosen the screws. Yeah, so that's now good. And I'm gonna do the other side. Okay, this side also, maybe a little more on this side. And that is how you do that. So I did have to loosen the one I tightened already and slide the screen, because I had marked out exactly how wide the screen is and where I wanted it. So I had to slide it about an inch that way. And then I just tightened both those brackets. They actually clamp onto the channel itself, so it can't come out at all. And then it can't come off the top because it's actually set down in, so it's not going anywhere. And that is the full setup and install of the Silverticket products. Well, it's the, is it the SMB 169-106 WAB screen. I'll add a link down at the top of the description where you can check it out directly on their own product website if you want to get all the specifications from them, as well as where you can purchase from Amazon. Sometimes the price is different. That said, thanks for watching to the end. I will have a full product review on this guy coming up. But she's installed, speakers behind, ready to blast away. So thanks for watching to the end, guys. Catch us back here on GeekSmart for another future video setup and install tutorial. So thanks for sticking by. Catch you again soon.